small fish just tapped it.
So John, tell me how you got started guiding out here.
I actually started as a client of Mark Kovach Fishing Services, and fished 2 or 3 days, 4 days a year with him as a client. And then in '93, we had been talking about it a little bit, and I had approached him about doing some guiding. At the time, I had some extra time from my my other business, and so we went with it. And I've been guiding since '93, and I enjoy teaching, and I learned to fly fish with Mark, and so I now have my certification as a casting instructor, and you know, I like running boats. I like rowing. It keeps me in shape. You know, it keeps the weight off, and so you know, it kind of combines a couple different things with you know, making it a fun thing to do for a day. It still works sometimes, but most of the time it's just fun. This is actually one of our other guides, Mark Frondorf, showed me this. It's a way of wacky rigging with a little bit of weight on it.
That's lead?
It's actually a lead collar, and the holes in it are offset so that the more weight is on the bottom than on the top, and so when it goes down in the water column, it actually goes down with the hook up, and
keeps it out of trouble.
Keeps it out of trouble most of the time, and gets more depth, particularly when we have higher water. Immature bald eagle up here. Jeff, I noticed that you're fishing what looks like a jig, but in fact you've got your spinnerbait rod in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's something that most people don't realize. Spinnerbaits are actually fished a lot like jigs, as opposed to,
it's just a jig with a blade on it. And I mean, that's why we decided to put that dragon head shape on a spinnerbait, is because, especially as it gets cooler and even into the cold weather, with a spinnerbait, I'll definitely fish it like a jig, and that head doesn't get stuck, and it orients that hook up, and it keeps it out of trouble, that flat shape. But I've done this for years just with regular spinnerbaits, and it's a great technique just to put it out there, let it hit the bottom, let it chill for a while. And I say a while, I mean, in the winter, I've caught them down to 36 and a half, and it's usually after it's screwing with it, after it's sat there a minute, 2 minutes, and then once you start moving it again, they know that it's fluttered down and it's there, it's in the area, and they're near it. I think when there's something like that, like a spinnerbait, especially with this this blade, it's single Colorado, it just helicopters down and just sits there, and they're near it. Once it starts taking off again, they grab it. But
will they pick it up actually off the bottom?
Not usually, but for whatever reason, that longer pause sells it better. I don't know why. Now we're not that cold yet, and I'll keep it near the bottom, and I'll hop it and make sure that it's smacking a rock every, I don't know, every foot to 4 feet that it travels, it has to smack something.
Yeah, we've actually got we think there's a carp actually over here splashing on the surface on occasion.
With this rising river, I think they're picking up stuff that's, as the water's coming up, they're getting, I don't know, bugs or something that's floating off these rocks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all. Yeah,
they're obviously eating something.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not a lot of times the carp will jump just to jump and make a big splash, and you know, yay, we're happy. But you know, these were actual eating.
Yeah. Rising river. There he goes again. They're just on this side of that current seam. There must be something there.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, there's a whole school of carp laying there. Yeah, a lot of what we do as guides is trying to rig baits in such a way so that it doesn't get hung up on the bottom as much. So what I'm rigging right now is a Senko or a stick bait. This particular one I think is actually from Case, and I'm rigging it on a dragon head that's 1/4 ounce, and it screws into the head. And then the big thing with this is to make sure that you mark with your thumb where it's going to go up through the worm, and actually go straight up through the worm and lay the hook on the back. And then I'll actually tuck that hook point into the skin of the worm, so that the biggest thing with these things is they be straight. If they've got a big curve in them or something like that, they'll helicopter in the water and not look natural. It doesn't look like much, but it typically, a lot of times what triggers fish are the things that are more subtle, as opposed to things that are flapping all over the place. Decent fish. All right.
What'd you get him on, Roy?
It's a smoked grub, 5-inch Kalen's grub with purple flake on one of our 1/8 ounce dragon heads. He wanted it. Yeah, I love those spots.
Yeah.
Nice green in the back and the bronze in the bottom. Not a flaw on them. Beautiful fish.
ConfidenceBaits.net